Hello, hello! Welcome back to the channel. My name is Louise. If you are brand new here, welcome. I like to talk about auditions, and this week we are going to be talking about how you should be evaluating each and every audition that you go on. Now, as I always say, if you like this content and if you would like to see more of it, then just make sure that you click subscribe and that you like the video and that you tell loads of friends about it, and it just gets the word out there even more, and we all get to learn, which is lovely. So I talk a lot on Instagram especially about the importance of evaluating your own work and of evaluating your auditions. But then the common answer that comes up is, well, how? How am I supposed to be doing that? So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a really solid, in-depth process for what you should be asking yourself and what you should be evaluating along the way straight after you finish an audition. And this can be applicable to professional auditions and to drama school auditions. So what I encourage people to do is whatever way of evaluation works for you, whether that is actually taking out a notebook and writing things down, in the process of actually handwriting things really works for you, whether that is doing notes on your phone and then you've always got it with you, whether that is doing a voice note and actually just kind of speaking all of your thoughts out loud, or doing the same thing but by video, whatever works for you, make sure that you kind of maintain that as you go through what I'm about to say. So the first thing that you want to do, and it seems really, really obvious, is just write down the basics. And by that I mean, what was the audition? What was it for? Who did you audition for? What did you prep? Whether that was, oh, I prepped a Shakespeare scene from this play, I prepped 3 sets of sides for this project, or whatever it was. Just make sure that you've actually got that written down so that you can re-jog your memory if you look back on your notes later on. Write down how the audition actually operated. You went in, you read the scene, was there any redirection, was there an interview, did they ask questions? All of that kind of stuff. Just write down the basics, the kind of the scaffolding, the framework of what happened within the audition. Then you want to write down the facts. So now that you've got your scaffolding, your actual skeleton of the audition, you want to flesh that out a little bit with the facts, which are what actually happened. And note that this is free of emotion, free of opinion. So what actually happened factually, whether that was I tripped up over my lines in the 3rd scene, the panel laughed at one of the lines that I said and the way that I said it, I followed through with a physical impulse on this line, whatever actually happened, what were the events within the audition that weren't necessarily just the basics of I came in and I read this scene. Then after you've got all of that, that is when you're going to write down your emotional response to it. So that's when you can actually really fly with your opinions, how you felt that it went, whether that was, oh my God, I think I absolutely smashed it, it went super, super well, I'm buzzing because of it, or it felt absolutely awful, something was off, I don't think that the panel liked me, and I think that they didn't like me because of the way I looked, or because I just wasn't what they were looking for, or they were 10 minutes late, or they didn't even look at me, you know. Start to really explore your emotional response to what was actually happening within the audition. And that goes along with, I tripped up over that line, I wasn't prepared, and totally lambast yourself because of it. So don't pull any punches when you actually write your emotional response to it, your emotional reaction. Really let it all out, proper stream of consciousness. You can be as harsh or as praising as you want to be. And then after you've done all of that, that is when you actually bring all of that down into a rational response. So taking all of the basics, the facts, and the emotional response to what has happened within the audition, you take all of that as data, as evidence, and then you start to actually put it into a rational, pragmatic, logical framework. So that's when you can actually give yourself and the panel and the actual audition itself the benefit of the doubt. So whether that was the panel absolutely hated me, of actually thinking, okay, well, what was the actual response? Were they just a little bit short with me? And could that be because it was quite late in the day and they'd seen a lot of people by then and they were a little bit jaded and tired? Or was that just my own insecurities being projected out? Take all of those things into account and actually challenge your emotional thinking. Because some of it will be right on the money and other ones will be totally irrational and totally just emotionally driven, which won't always be helpful when you're reviewing your work. And now that you've got all of that, you're going to start to get more of a sense of how the audition did actually go. You're going to start to calm down, come off the adrenaline a little bit, and it ceases to be all about a kind of guttural response or a heart response, and it starts to be actually a cerebral response to your work. And once you've got there, that is when you can actually start figuring out what worked well. So what actually happened within the audition that you want to maintain for future auditions? Whether that was the fact that I decided to warm up vocally and physically before going into the audition, and that led to me being super flexible and impulsive, both physically, vocally, psychologically within the audition, which really, really helped when it came to redirection and actually sparking off of the person that I was reading opposite. Or whether that was I really implemented my textual analysis process within my preparation, so when I came into the audition I felt fully prepared and in control of what I was doing. Whatever those things are, to actually pinpoint what worked well within the audition that you want to actually take hold of and replicate or assign to a future audition so that you just get better and better. And then you're going to write down what didn't work. So things that need attention, things that need to be addressed within your audition process. So whether that was the nerves really got to me, I need to find a process for actually counteracting that. Or I hadn't read the full play and they started to ask me questions about it and I didn't have the answers. Or I started to hesitate and second guess myself within the redirection, so I didn't follow through with it properly. All of those things of actually being able to analyze your work and saying, okay, I'm not letting myself off the hook here. I'm not being unkind to myself. All of the review that I'm putting in right now is fair, but these are things that need to be addressed and given attention to for future auditions, because if I don't, I'm just going to stay at the same level. And that will eventually lead to me either not booking jobs or not getting into a drama school, just not getting the results that I want. And when you're not getting the results that you want, i.e. not booking the job, etc., then you need to shift and change your strategy. And now that you have all of the things that you need to actually give attention to, you need a plan of action. So you need to be able to take those points of needing attention and implementing them into a step-by-step, okay, well, how would I actually prepare for the next audition? And giving yourself some kind of mock run for it. So whether that was I wasn't following through with physical impulses, then start to actually practice that. Instead of just giving yourself that no into the ether, into some kind of void that it isn't actually applicable to anything. Because it's really easy to say, oh, well, I need to prepare fully for my next audition so that I don't do exactly what I just did. And then it comes to the next audition, and because you haven't actually put that into practice, the next audition is actually the practice run for implementing that note. And that's risky. You don't know how that's going to end up. So you actually need to be putting those processes into practice before you go for an audition next time. So that is the evaluation process for actually reviewing all of your work with an audition. So that is writing down the basics, writing down the facts, your emotional response, your rational response, what worked well and what needs attention, and then your plan of action. And with all of those components, you are in a much better position to be advancing and progressing and improving each time that you go into an audition room. And this can be applied even when your auditions are few and far between, when we don't have a lot of auditions there. If you're actually putting in the work in between auditions to improve, then by the time the next audition comes round, you're not rusty. And that can be half the challenge. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it really useful. And if you did, and if you've got any questions, put them below. If you've got any comments, all of that kind of stuff, and make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel and tell loads of people about it and share it so that other people can understand how to actually review their auditions each and every time they have one. And I hope to see you again for the next video. So thank you so much.